Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Take Two Reviews. This week's Take Two review is the often maligned and somewhat despised in some regions, Howard the Duck. Hey everyone, yes, like I said, this is my review of Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck started out as a comic book character in the 70s. I thought he started in the comic book that was an answer to DC Swamp Thing from Marvel, Man-Thing. But when I did a little research, he actually started out somewhere else. But I first saw him in my father's Man-Thing comics when I was a kid, before the Howard the Duck movie. And I always thought it was an interesting character. But the character in the 70s was more a product of the 70s, and Howard in this movie is more a product of the 80s. I think the movie, in my opinion, was more a parody of everything going on in the 80s, and I don't think the 80s really appreciated that. I think it was too much of a kind of a mirror on the world at that time. Well, as much of a mirror as you can have with a duck from another dimension and planet coming to Earth. As far as the movie itself, a lot of people don't like it, and you know, like they say, Marvel wants you to forget about it because it's Marvel creation. George Lucas wants you to forget about it because he had a hand in it. It's not a terrible movie. Is it a well-made movie? Yes. Is it well-written? Well, I've seen worse comic book movies. I've seen worse normal movies. Does it not know what it wants to be? There you can have a point. It's trying to be too many things for too many people. And it does fall short in that department. And it's also almost at the same time trying to be a kid's movie when Howard was never really a character for the kids. So it's just, it doesn't know where it wants to go. But, in the end, I always enjoyed it. One of the first movies that I ever imported, because for a long time they wouldn't release a DVD of it here, was Howard the Duck. And I don't know, it's a good time capsule of the 80s, and I like it. If you've never watched it, it's about Howard, and he's a duck, and he lives on a planet full of sentient ducks. And on Earth, there's a scientist that's shooting this ray off into space, and what he doesn't realize is the ray actually picks two things up. It picks Howard up and pulls him across galaxies, and it picks up a entity. The entity goes into the scientist, and Howard lands on Earth, and it's about that entity trying to get back out into the cosmos to wreak havoc, and Howard just wanted to try to get home. He ends up falling in love with a female, and I cannot remember her name right now to save my life. Hold on just a moment. Leah Thompson, who was in a lot of movies in the 80s. And, yeah, it's cheesy. It's, like I said, it doesn't really know what it wants to do. But I always enjoyed it. You may like it, you may not. But give it a chance. Just because maybe it has a 20 on Rotten Tomatoes doesn't mean it's not a fun movie. It's just not something a snob that likes one certain kind of movie may like. Anyways, that's all I got. We'll see y'all next week, and next week will be a new movie, because that's the way I've set this thing up.